Hey gang, welcome to Stony Acres Gardening. Rick Stone here, and I am a gardener out in the wild again this week. So today we are in the South Salt Lake Valley, and we are at a member of the Gardening Academy's place. This is Lee, and Lee is going to take us on a tour of his garden. So Lee, tell us first, how long have you been gardening here?
So in this garden, this is my second year in this garden. I started gardening about 5 or 6 years ago, and I had these 3 small beds, wooden beds, in another part of the yard, and then I expanded, so I moved over here about 2 years ago. And of these beds, the perimeter and this back in-ground bed are all brand new. This is their first year that I've used them.
Okay, great. So fairly new. Any guess on how much square footage you have?
About 430 square feet of growing space.
Okay. And how are you watering it?
So I use a drip irrigation system.
Okay, I'll want to see that.
Exactly.
So I love drip, so
Yeah.
We'll definitely want to see that. So the idea here today is we're just going to kind of wander. Lee's going to show us. We've got some in-ground gardens and some raised beds. We've got a greenhouse. He's going to take us and show us his seed starting setup because he's already got his fall brassicas going. And so we're going to do a lot of fun stuff today. So let's kind of wander. Lee, what do you think we should start with?
Well, let's start back here in the back bed, and
Okay.
we'll look at the leaf mold operation and the in-ground stuff. How
Perfect.
about that?
Okay. Okay, Lee, so tell us about this area over here.
So one of the things, when I look for mulching opportunities and things, and I had been using hay, and like everybody else, you have the weed problems that you have with it. So one of the things we have here is a lot of trees and a lot of leaves. So last year I started collecting leaves, and this is my first year I'll be ready in the fall to start using leaf mulch. And so I've started this here, and I'm actually going to double the size of this next year. So I'm going to grow more so that as the garden has grown, that we can do that.
And we'll kind of do a takeaway. There are a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Your property is surrounded with a lot of trees, so I'm sure you've got plenty of material.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I like using cattle panels. I like trying to get things to go up and grow vertically.
AJ, why don't you kind of show this trellis here while we talk? So
Yeah.
this part of your garden is in ground. Is it going to stay in ground?
It will stay in ground.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm doing is, because of the slope, I do have a hard border on that side so that we can kind of build it up, but it will stay in ground. And in the spring, this will be cabbages, broccolis, cauliflowers, in addition. And then I'm doing some test growing of some tomatoes in some various different styles in here to see how they do in this garden.
Okay.
And then the other thing I did this year that I thought really worked well is I used alliums as bug deterrents.
Oh, we talked about this.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I had 0 issues with pests this spring. No aphids, nothing.
Which is awesome, especially given the year we've had here in Utah.
It-
A lot of people having problems with bugs because none of them died over the winter. So.
Exactly. And so that worked very well, and so I'm starting to incorporate that using more chives throughout the garden, as you'll see as we walk around, and things of that nature. And then I've got some herbs, some oregano and some sage that I rescued from another part of my garden, and just trying to see what grows really well here. You know, being that this is the first year I've had this in-ground bed, you know, some plants are going to do well, some aren't going to do as well. But right now we have cantaloupes in the ground, we have butternut squashes, and then we have watermelons growing in the middle. And so we'll take those through the summer and see how they do.
All right, so tell us about this area.
Okay, so these wooden beds in front were the first 3 beds that I started with.
These 3 here.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I added the metal beds about 2 years ago. I added
Okay.
these 3 metal beds. The one thing I would say, if I was going to start it over and do it again, I would go to a 24-inch tall bed, just from simply the bending over angle and working.
And how tall are they currently?
These are currently 16-inch tall
16,
beds.
okay.
Yes, it's 16 inches. And so
Part of that is us old guys.
yeah, we're starting to get older. I actually have a little scooter over on the other side with a seat on it, and I scoot around because it lets me work at a better angle. But you know, in the spring, we had obviously a lot of cauliflower, a lot of brassica plants in, and we've transitioned, and now we have our green beans. I do grow bush green beans. I want to get them in. I want to get the harvest. I want to get them out. So I have that bed available in the fall.
Perfect.
For me. I'm from the South. I have to have my purple hulls. And so I have an entire bed of purple hells growing over here.
Great.
And those will go till fall in that bed.
A few carrots as well. I love how you've intermixed.
And so we're kind of doing that. We had our onions and garlic in this bed. Now I'm growing lima beans.
Perfect.
Love lima beans. And so we'll grow them and get a harvest. The onions will be out in the next 2 weeks as they continue to reach maturity. And so we have potatoes here, and the water has just been turned off this week. So in about 2 weeks, we'll start to harvest these potatoes. So we have dark red New Orleans and a white potato.
Okay.
So they're new potatoes. And so they are right at 100 days, and so they're ready to come out. So we've turned the water off to this bed.
Perfect.
And they're starting to yellow, so we'll harvest them. I had these yellow tomato plants, and I said, well, let's see what they do on the trellis. And so here on the trellis over here are my yellow tomatoes, and they're doing quite nice, and they look lovely.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
We've got some, and AJ, we'll do some B-roll of this as well, but we've got, again, I love this because you've got such a nice mix. You've got in-ground gardens, you've got raised beds, you've got vertical, and then we've got containers.
Exactly.
So you're growing peppers, it looks like, here in containers.
So this is the year I had my best year ever actually growing peppers from seed. Usually it's an area that I struggle, and I did very well. They're growing so well in the pots, and my hope is to be able to overwinter these in the barn.
Bring them into the shed. We'll show the barn here in a minute too.
Exactly, and then that will free up more space here for me to do other crops in the raised bed. And so, they're doing quite well. And then we continue the container garden, and we'll get over there in a minute with other crops.
Okay. So we moved a little bit further north here to the last couple of beds. Tell us what you have growing here.
So over here I've got my summer squashes, so my zucchinis and yellow squash, as well as cucumber on the vine, on the trellis, and then underneath I'm growing my yellow green beans. I'm a fan of yellow green beans.
I've grown them a few years and like them too.
Yeah,
so.
I like them, and then I'll do some canned green beans as well this year, because we do like canned green beans in addition to fresh and frozen. And so one of the things is I grew this in ground, but this will be out in another 4 weeks. And what I've done is I've grown additional squash here in these 20-gallon grow bags. And so I will want this bed for my fall brassicas. And so I'll get a solid month of harvest off of these, and by then the squashes that I planted last week in these grow bags will be ready and start producing. And so I'll take over this bed. The beans will be done.
What do we have happening here?
So over here we've got more peppers. One of the things I love peppercini peppers, pickled peppercini peppers. And so I said this year I'm going to try pickling my own.
Cool.
So those are the plants we've got growing here, and then this is my herbs. This is my herb garden, and we have a couple of different types of parsley, some garlic chives and regular chives, and thyme and tarragon, and so that's kind of what we have growing in this bed.
Great. So this is fun. Along with all of these raised beds and in-ground that we've talked about, you've added some new raised beds. You said these are new this year?
Brand new this year.
Brand new this year. So talk about these beds a little bit.
So I thought that this would be the perfect backdrop with my indeterminate tomatoes. However, the error is they're getting a little tall, and I'm not exactly a short person. So next year we'll actually be moving the indeterminates, and we'll be growing determinate tomatoes and other. One of these beds is going to shift to be our garlic bed next year.
Perfect.
And so that's what we've got growing along here. And I really I like the height that we're working at. I've kind of interspersed some chives and flowers in here, and I've got basil growing throughout, trying to just get a good mix of plants that I'm growing in the area.
Okay. All the way down here, we're just tomatoes all the way.
Just tomatoes all the way.
Some borage.
Yep.
Which I am a huge fan of borage. We have, since we started growing borage, our tomato hornworm issues have almost gone away completely.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah.
One of the things is with all of the construction that we've had going on here, it eliminated a lot of our pollinator flowers that we had growing in the other beds. And so we had to get more flowers in here, and that's one of the areas that I'm really trying to expand my abilities in, is in growing flowers.
Well, this all looks really good, and I love the contrast as we go through the garden, and the lots of trellises and everything. So we do have a, by the way, we should probably mention when he talked about the construction, Lee's building a new house.
Exactly.
And so we actually had to ask the contractors to stop for a little bit while they did that, while we're filming today. So
exactly.
We'll go tackle his greenhouse really quick, and then we're going to go see his seed starting set up in his shop. Before we tackle the greenhouse, let's talk just a little bit about what you have done irrigation wise.
Okay. Well, Rick, one of the problems that I have is I travel quite a bit for work, and so I'm frequently out of town. And so that leads to, how do I make sure that my plants get watered in a timely order? So I went ahead and set up a drip irrigation system. And while it's in a temporary status now, it will be hooked up when all the new water lines are run. It will be hooked up to a manifold. We have everything on a timer. I'll actually be adding a third zone. I've got 2 zones now. But the nice thing is every bed is on its own system. So I have shut-off valves for every bed, so I can control the water that goes in and out of all of these beds. And what it allows me to do is just be out of town and know that I don't have to worry about, are they getting dry or whatnot.
All right, tell us about your greenhouse.
So this was a Christmas present from my wife 3 years ago.
Okay.
And it's kind of what led to the garden moving over here to this corner of the house, is where are we going to put this. I have gotten a lot of use out of this greenhouse. It has its challenges. In the summer, it's extremely hot, and we use it more as a fertilization station, more of a storage area. But where I really get a lot of benefit of it is in the springtime. I can start my alliums and things of that nature in my seed starting area, but with a small space heater and some heating mats, I can then move these guys out here and keep them above freezing, and it's a great area. So in the springtime, this area will be completely full. Every shelf up here will all be completely full of plants.
Perfect. And this is what, maybe
8 by 10?
10?
8 by 10.
Yeah.
It's a Costco.
Yeah. Great little greenhouse.
It's a great little greenhouse. You put it together.
All right, last but not least, we wanted to show, because Lee is being really aggressive with fall brassicas, etc. Aggressive, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but he's got a ton of stuff going in his seed starting setup. So now we're in this beautiful shed, barn, whatever we want to call it, that Lee has. How big is this barn?
It's a 40 by 60 steel
40 by
building.
60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Every male should have one.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us about your seed starting setup.
Okay, so fall is actually my favorite growing season. And
Me too.
I find that, honestly, things grow better in the fall than they do in the spring. And you're battling almost the inverse. So you're starting hot, so you have to baby them early, but the fall is cool and nice. And my favorite crops, broccoli and things of that nature, they just really thrive in that environment. So I grow my best produce of the year in September, in October. And so I just really get aggressive. Aggressive is a good word in the plants that I do. As you can see, I have quite a few. I like to grow way too many seed starts. And so we'll grow 4 different types of broccoli this fall. I'm from the south, so we'll have collards and we'll have mustard greens coming in the fall, and those do really well late into the year. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I'll get them well into December before a hard, really seriously hard freeze gets them. If you noticed in the garden out there, I have the hoops. I have 3/4 PVC, and that way I can put frost protection, bug netting, shade cloth, anything of that nature. So what I'll do in the fall is, whereas I had the shade cloth sitting on the ground out there so I can deploy it at a moment's notice, I'll do the same thing with the frost cloth. So that allows me to grow a variety of different plants here.
Well, Lee, thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us today.
Happy to have you guys out.
We feel like we really imposed on you because they actually had to stop the contractors had to take an early lunch so that we could do this. So thank you for being here.
Very welcome.
talk to us really quick. This is going to feel like an ad here at the end, guys, but Lee is a member of the Gardening Academy, and I just wanted to, maybe talk a little bit about the Gardening Academy and what you feel like it does for you.
Really, for me, I get a lot out of the Gardening Academy. It gives me a weekly place to go and talk about what's happening in my garden with other people. So you're not always guessing. You're not trying to jump on YouTube and find a video and say what's going on. But it's also a community. And one of the things in the 6 months I've been in the Gardening Academy, it's almost like I can't wait to talk to Nancy or one of the other people in the gardening, Rose, Michelle. But it just allows you to really expand, ask very specific questions. We have a pointed lesson every week, that you can take and bring into your own garden. But for me, I'm a social creature, and it's a community. And it's something I really enjoy being a part of and look forward to each week.
And we've tried to do that. That was one of the things that I have enjoyed. We used to only do the Q&As once a month.
Right.
And now we do them once a week. And boy, that has really solidified the group. We've got, 20 to 30 people who are there consistently, and it's so much fun.
It drives the engagement when you're doing it on a weekly basis. And we all have busy lives, and maybe we can't make it every week. So if you only do it once a month and you miss that month, well, then you've gone 8 weeks.
Right.
And I've got so many questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I get out of the Gardening Academy, is that sense of community. But it's a valuable resource for me. I don't know what I'm doing out here. I'm kind of stumbling along, and it's a place for me to have a sounding board and talk about what I'm doing and find ways to improve and grow my garden.
Cool. Thank you.
You're
Thanks.
very welcome.
All right. We're going to go ahead and call it for today. Thank you again, Lee, for letting us be here and see your just absolutely beautiful garden. I think I'm going to probably do another video just to show how well laid out this is.
Absolutely.
Because as we're kind of walking through, it was a little bit hard to see it. So it's a gorgeous garden, so thank you for letting us be here.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let me say this. If you live in Utah, right now we're still struggling for things to video because we're waiting for our house to get into. If you live in Utah and would like to show off your garden, send me a message and we'll come and do a tour like we've done here with Lee. So we'd love to have that be part of our channel here. So, all right, that's all we have for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Happy gardening.